Week 3 of the NHL season is over, and the tensions are already starting to rise.
Barron off the board, taken away. Oh, big hit by Trouba, and Barron is down.
Some teams are off to an explosive start, while other teams look like they can already be in trouble. The NHL and all of the chaotic storylines are starting to take form, so this is what actually happened in Week 3 of the NHL. Sunday, Benny and the Jets. On Sunday, we got the only undefeated team left in the league in the Jets versus the Penguins. Tristan Jarry is already on his way to Shanghai in this one, as he was healthy scratched. That's ugly, but the Pens would hop out to a 2-0 lead, but defense has certainly been optional for them. That means they'd give up 3 straight, blow the lead, and despite tying it up, the Jets' depth is just on fire. 12 different players already have goals on their squad this season, and a couple of goals from Adam Lowry and Mason Appleton allow the Jets to pull away and win 6-3. Jets fans also give the ultimate troll job to Rutger McGorty by chanting, "Where is Rutger?" The prospect who wanted his way out of Winnipeg for a more direct path to the NHL was ironically sent down by Pittsburgh prior to this game. You gotta love the absolute savagery from the Jets fans, and the Penguins take L's all over the place on Sunday as the Jets go 5-0 and remain the only undefeated team in the NHL. Over in Cali, the Sharks were hosting the Avs, and there's been a lot of talk about the Avs being a top-heavy team and how their lack of depth may be a concern. However, someone clearly has not been telling Ross Colton that, because he opened up this game with his 5th and 6th goals of the season. Congrats to the Avs on their turn facing the Sharks. They easily win 4-1 with the core of McKinnon, Rantanen, and Makar all near the top of NHL scoring and doing what they do best. Now, call this a sleepy Sunday because the Ducks got peppered in this game by getting outshot 33-10 in the final 2 periods of this game. Kings make quick work of them, winning 4-1 and move into second in the Pacific with a 3-1-2 record. Despite giving up a touchdown and the extra point to Ottawa a few games ago, they're actually on a decent start. Monday, Prime Parade. Now, how about this? Only one game on in the NHL on Monday, and it's the Leafs versus Lightning exclusively on Amazon Prime. Welcome to the NHL, where you need 8 different subscription services to catch about 60% of the games, while the remaining 40 is blocked due to regional blackouts. But hey, 2 Atlantic Division rivals going at it should be a doozy, and it starts off with a little mind games. Here's Vasilevsky doing his little pregame warm-up, and look at the snow shower he gives to Morgan Riley. He even gives a little look back right away to see if he gets a reaction, and book that interaction for later. The game opened with Will Nye the Science Guy putting one on the board to get the Leafs to an early 1-0 lead, but then call this guy Nick Pauly Culkin, because Nick Paul is left home alone on the B-way, and he gets a nice bounce to tie this game up. But then the Leafs came out hot for the second period. 3 straight goals, including this long shot from Pacioretty that beats Vasilevsky, and that earns him the yank for the night. See you later. 1 minute you're giving snow showers and warm-up, and the next minute you're getting pulled. The Lightning could have clawed back into this game when they got a full 5-on-3 power play when it was 4-1 Leafs, but Anthony Stolarz was absolutely incredible and made a huge save to keep this game out of reach.
Loose on the goal line, held out. Sensational goaltending by Anthony Stolarz.
Leafs play a textbook full 60-minute physical hockey game, and it turns out Leafs fans do make noise at the game because a chant broke out asking where Steven Stamkos is. Leafs look dominant in prime time on Amazon Prime, which means that the parade is a green light to start the week. Fire up the floats, call your pessimistic Leaf fan uncle that it's time. The Leafs are for real, at least for this week. Tuesday, Frozen Frenzy. All 32 teams in action for the Frozen Frenzy. That means 16 games if you're bad at math like me. And of course, it's on a Tuesday, and it's the same night that the NBA starts. Sick scheduling, Gary. Thanks for that. But let's kick it into rapid fire for this night. Starting off with a divisional matchup between the Flyers and Capitals. You got to start the Frozen Frenzy with a bang, and a good old-fashioned tilt between Dylan McIlrath and Nick Delorier gets things going. And aside from the fights, the Capitals, who only scored 3 shorthanded goals all of last season, opened the scoring in this one with back-to-back shorties to take a 2-0 lead in the second period. Ovi doesn't score yet again, but the Caps close out this one with a 4-1 win. Down in Florida, the Panthers were hosting the Wild, and Minnesota continues their streak to start a season without trailing once. They dominate the Panthers 5-1 with 5 goals coming from different players. Philip Gustafsson has been on fire to start the season, and he stops 24 of 25, and this Wild team is potentially on wagon watch. We'll see though. Speaking of Florida teams, the Lightning were up in New Jersey, where defense ceases to exist for this very game. Brandon Hagel gets a hattie, and the Lightning offense goes off in an 8-5 win. It was a cookie night for Tampa, and my fantasy team loves it. Fantasy players have also been loving Jake Ottinger. He's been lights out to start the season, and so it only made sense for the Stars to get completely overwhelmed early by the Sabres of all teams to go down 3-0. Late goals from Thomas Harley and Tyler Seguin weren't enough to finish the comeback, and the Sabres ruined Shane Pinto's parlay by beating one of the best teams in the NHL. Tough go. But it wasn't as brutal as it was to watch the Habs take on the Rangers. With New York taking a 4-0 lead just 11 minutes into this game, this was over way before it even started. Now, the balancing act of letting the kids play and being a complete and utter mess defensively showed its ugly head in this one. Not to mention, Justin Barron gets right on the tracks of the Trouba train, and boom, he gets absolutely smoked. Some say it's an elbow, some say it's clean, but there is no penalty for the hit on the play, so we move on. The Rangers cook the Habs 7-2 and continue to roll. Now, hopefully you got that Leaf fan uncle on speed dial, because it's time to call him right back and tell him that you're kidding about the whole parade thing. The Jackets laid the smackdown on the Leafs by going up 5-0 halfway through regulation, and it was just a brutal night from start to finish for Toronto. The Jackets outplayed them in every area of the game and say screw your parade. Let's check in on the Islanders, who seem immune to scoring goals. They were buzzing in this one by outshooting the Red Wings 30-11. Surely one's gotta fall in, no? Well, it did. Too bad it was for Detroit, with Patrick Kane getting his first of the season. And this game, not even kidding, ended 1-0 Detroit. Alex Lyon stopped all 30 shots, and the Islanders go another game where they outplay their opponent but can't score. A tale simply as old as time. And another one that's just as old is the Jets being wagons in October. Welcoming the Blues, they would have a glorious chance to tie the game in the dying seconds, but Connor Hellebuck does what he does best.
To Neighbors, a shot, rebound, Shen, can't knock it in. Oh, what a chance on the rebound for Shen.
Hellebuck stops 27 of 29 and continues to be the early Vezina candidate for a Jets team who's still undefeated on the season. Meanwhile, over in Chicago, Bedard welcomes his hometown Canucks. And despite Vancouver's struggles at the start of this season, this road trip has been a chef's kiss, as JT Miller continues to be a weapon out there, getting a goal and 2 assists to lead Vancouver to a 6-3 win, with Bedard going pointless. Superstars can have an off night, but that was not the case for the dog Nathan MacKinnon. He gets the game winner against Seattle with some much needed help from the depth, with 2 goals coming from Yoel Kiviranta, and all of a sudden, the Abs have won 3 straight after the sky was initially falling. The only place where it was worse was in Nashville. Still winless on the season, they got Jeremy Swayman and the Bruins. Gustav Nyquist tests the $66 million man by throwing a good old changeup, and he beats him clean. That, combined with UC Saros making 33 saves, shut out the Bruins and allowed the Nashville Predators to pick up their first win of the season. Now, a man that's almost impossible to shut out is McDavid. He gets 2 slick goals against Carolina to put Edmonton up, and despite Stuart Skinner doing breakdancing in the crease to make some huge stops, the Hurricanes tie it up, and then Sebastian Aho calls game.
It's gonna hurry. Gages to the net. What timer? Aho scores!
Looking to build on their strong start, Utah had the sense, and they outshot them 31-22, but it's Anton and Uncle Forsberg holding down the fort, stopping all 31. They blank Utah. The Sens power play goes 1-for-1 in this game, and they have been lethal to start the season, going 9-for-22 so far. Now, this is also the time to congratulate the lucky opponent of the San Jose Sharks, and that's again the Anaheim Ducks. My favorite toilet bowl showdown ended with the Ducks coming out on top, while the Sharks still remain winless. The suffering simply never ends. No one is as down bad as the Sharks are right now, but Vegas, after losing 3 straight, we're probably ready to put someone on the IR to, get some help. But they meet a Kings team that can't decide whether or not they only want to let in 1 goal or 6. Thomas Hertl drops 4 points, along with the LTIR legend Mark Stone recording 3, and the Golden Knights steamroll the Kings 6-1. Now, to cap it all off, it was the Flames and the Penguins. With Tristan Jarry currently in Shanghai, it looks like the Penguins finally have a chance to win some games. They outshot Calgary 38-18, but the Flames are a sneaky surprise this season. Trying to force OT, it's Nazem the Dream Kadri to tie it with 43 seconds left. And how about this? In the shootout, Justin Costco Kirkland, the 28-year-old journeyman who's defied all the odds to get to this spot, grabs the shootout winner and caps off the busiest night of hockey for the year. Wednesday, Russian Showdown. You guessed it, the busiest day of the year for hockey was followed up by only 1 game. I don't know who's making this schedule, but they got to get bullied. This one would be a showdown between Alex Ovechkin and Matvei Michkov. One of the best Russian players of all time going up against the next highly touted Russian prospect. The Caps have been a pleasant surprise to start this season, being 4-1. After scoring 2 straight shorthanded goals against Philly on Tuesday's game, they would score 4 straight 5-on-5 goals to lead halfway through this one. But a team coached by John Tortorella isn't going to go down without a fight. The Flyers slowly start to chip away, scoring 1 goal at a time from Konechny, Tippett, and then Matvei Michkov. Michkov looked great. He even tried a Michigan, but he was facilitating offense all night for Philly. However, being down by 1 and the goalie pulled for Philly, this brain fart would cost the Flyers the game. Drysdale tries to use his D partner. His D partner even gives him a look as an option, and then he goes for a change. The result is an absolute pizza, and Pierre-Luc Dubois buries the empty netter to seal this one. Ovi gets his cookie, of course, with the empty netter, that merchant, and the Caps improve to 5-1 on the season. So far, the offseason moves for the Caps have paid off, and they look pretty good, but only time will tell if they are truly the real deal this year. Thursday, bad blood. If you want hate, how about a conference finals rematch between the Florida Panthers and the New York Rangers to kick off Thursday? Bobrovsky versus Shesterkin, a goalie matchup for the ages. But first, we had to get these pigeons off the ice. Where's Claude Giroux when you need him?
Pigeon!
After that's all sorted out, it's the first shot of the game from Anton Lundell to give the Panthers the early lead. Fast forward, it's a 2-1 game, and how about this toe save from Sergei Bobrovsky? He gets the Roberto Luong toe on that puck and somehow keeps it out. Of course, Igor had his own robbery to commit, but despite the effort, the Panthers take this 3-1, and Bobrovsky makes a little history by becoming the 14th goalie ever to 400 wins. Rangers lose their first in regulation, and side note, Matt Rempe was also sent down earlier to the AHL. Now let's check in on that potential wagon in Minnesota. They got the Bolts, and the NHL's leading goal scorer Nikita Kucherov snaps one home to take a 2-1 lead. That officially marks the first time the Wild have trailed all season. Those sick puppies just flying under the radar, being good. I'm sure they don't mind that. But the Wild have a Russian weapon of their own in Kirill Kaprizov. Kirill the Thrill has a big 3-point night, and the Wild remain unbeaten in regulation as they win in Tampa. Now, over in Boston, things were getting a little bit testy after Jim Montgomery laid into Captain Marchand after a brutal turnover against Utah. People, of course, try to make a big deal of it, but Marchand rightfully shot down any controversy by simply saying, if you make a mistake like that, you deserve to hear about it. So Boston had to bounce back against the Dallas Stars. Unfortunately, the Stars are gross, and the Bruins are struggling out of the gate. They entered Thursday's game ranked second in the NHL in penalty minutes and allowed 6 opponent power play goals through 7 games. The Stars scored 3 times on the PP in this one and beat the Bruins 5-2. There's a lot of noise in Boston, but it sure as hell doesn't beat a Leaf meltdown. It's new head coach Craig Berube's first game against the Blues since getting canned last season, and the Leafs are looking to respond after laying an egg. Joseph Woll is finally healthy for more than 60 seconds, and he gets the start, but it doesn't matter because the Leafs would get absolutely worked again by the Blues. That gave us this moment here where Berube just starts giving it to Matthews and Marner on the bench. Their power play is an abysmal 3 for 26 on the season. The sky is falling yet again for Leaf Nation after losing 5-1 and dropping to 500 on the season. It is so damn tempting to cancel this parade, but cooler heads will prevail. For now, the parade is just on hold. Now let's head over to the Motor City, where this game between the Devils and the Red Wings was all fireworks, baby. We got some scrums, some fights, and then a little finesse to top it all off. Patrick Kane is diving into the anti-aging creams lately, and he gets the power play game winner while adding an assist. And just when you think it's all over, Michael Rasmussen tucks the empty netter, but not without Jack Hughes flying in there, and he just looks like my little cousin after a reverse hit in mini sticks. He gets posterized on the empty netter and then stared down by Rasmussen. Hughes doesn't like the disrespect, the tension, and the hate is off the charts, injected into my veins. The Red Wings win, and honestly, let's keep an eye on those Devils. They might be on potential fraud watch, but still early, so relax, Devils fans. The Flames, however, still have not lost in regulation until tonight. The Hurricanes come into the Saddle Dome to do business and hand Calgary their first regulation L. At least I have some good news for Avs fans, as it looks like they finally found themselves a goalie in Eustace and Noonan. That, and also the three-headed monster that is McKinnon, Rantanen, and Makar, is just out of control. These three are on another level, and honestly, Ross Colton is joining in on the fun too. Makar scores and leads the NHL in points with 15 as a D-man. Absolutely sickening. They beat the Utah Hockey Club 5-1 and win their fourth in a row. Also, this is just your daily reminder to congratulate the LA Kings, as it's their turn to beat the Sharks. Everybody gets one in this league against the Sharks, and tonight was the LA Kings' lucky night. Finally, we had the NHL's top team in the Winnipeg Jets versus the Seattle Kraken. The Jets are undefeated, and after being up 3-1 heading into the third, their team defense and Vezina Hellebuyck should be able to close it out easily, but Seattle stays pesky and they get 2 to force overtime. However, the Jets keep on rolling. Nick Ehlers squeaks one through, and they are a perfect 7-0-0 to start the season. That's something Aaron Rodgers could never do. They are the hottest team in the league, and they cap off a busy Thursday. Friday, Battle of the Generations. Teeing it up is the Sens versus the injured reserves, and this first period was filled with action. First, Ottawa gets 2, and then Vegas responds right away by getting 2 of their own in 21 seconds. Then before the end of the period, Drake Batherson gets 1 to put Ottawa back on top. That's 5 goals in one period. Both teams end up doing the tango again in the second, with Adam Gaudette doubling up on the night. And this is the type of game that has management just losing their mind. All the back and forth still had the Sens holding a 4-3 lead, leading all the way down to the final 5 minutes of this game. Then Vegas strikes quick.
Eichel holding, down low, still no scores! The move, Pearson looking, Colasar scores! Keegan Colasar!
2 back-to-back goals, again, a minute apart from each other. Then they add the empty netter to take this roller coaster of a game, and Vegas remains a perfect 5-0 at home, with their offense on fire, averaging 4.37 goals per game. Next up is the Islanders and the Devils. One team seems allergic to scoring at times, while the other is on potential fraud watch. An all-Metro matchup meant that, of course, both teams would lay the body any chance they get. And with each team trading goals to be tied at 3, it marked the 4th time in 7 games that the Islanders have actually scored 3 or more goals. The other 3 games, they were completely shut out. However, tonight, the offense came through.
Barzell's got it at the dot, feeds it across, and Horvat scores. Islanders win it in overtime, 4-3.
Bo Horvat ruins the Devils announcer's day and gets the OT winner to make the Devils drop their 4th in a row. New coach, new system. They hit an early speed bump, but they were a popular pick by a lot of fans to take a jump this season. Seeing how they respond to this kind of adversity early on should be very interesting. Elsewhere, you got the Chicago Bedars welcoming a Preds team that is desperately trying to get back on track. The best way to do that is, of course, to leave Connor Bedard alone in front for his 2nd of the season. In all seriousness, though, what Nashville should actually do is let Philippe Forsberg keep dancing through defenders like this. He builds up a whole head of steam coming through the middle, slips it under the stick, goes to his backhand, goalie bites like a fish, and then he slips it upstairs on his forehand for the finish. That sick, man. How dare he? Absolutely disgusting. That sparks Nashville to score 3 unanswered goals and hand their Blackhawks the 3rd straight L. Finally, we had Sidney Crosby versus Connor McDavid. Generation versus generation. However, both of these teams are struggling to find any consistency. It wasn't until the second period where Leon Draisaitl would break the ice and open the floodgates in favor of Edmonton. By that point, the Oilers had been out shooting the Penguins 34-13. That is absolutely absurd. Crosby nor the Penguins had any answer in this one as the Oilers add 3 more in a 4-0 shutout backed by Stuart Skinner. The Oilers' Victor Arvidsson had a big night getting 3 assists, while both Crosby and McDavid actually record 0 points. Now, as for Pittsburgh, another lopsided loss where they look completely out of place is once again leaving a ton of question marks about the direction of this team. If they're going to have any shot of making the playoffs this year, it looks like it's going to take another godlike performance from Sid the Middle-Aged Man if they want to squeak in. Saturday, hockey night. Let's start off with the Bermuda Triangle of Mid featuring the Sabres and the Red Wings. Tage Thompson stays hot in this game, scoring his 6th and 7th goals of the season, but the Sabres power play has been god-awful. Buffalo's power play coming into this game was 0 for 22, but they get the monkey off their back and win their 3rd in a row with Rasmus Dahlin putting up 3 points. Now, the cookies wouldn't stop there as it was stat night over in Philly with both Sean Couturier and Travis Konechny putting up 5 points each on the Wild. The third period saw a Flyers team that was completely different from the first 2 periods. Philly only had 6 shots through 2 periods. So they probably got ripped by Torts in the intermission.
Hey, so stiffen up here. If you're not going to be stiff, you're not going to play.
After that, they came out as a completely different team. They score 4 goals in 1 period to hand the Wild their first regulation loss while snapping their own 6-game losing streak. Looking to do the same and avoid relegation from the Premier League is the Utah Hockey Club. But the Kings get 2 goals from Joel Edmondson of all players and hold the hockey club to only 1 goal. Now, after a hot start, Utah has already run into injury problems on defense that will be a big hurdle for them to overcome early this season. Because of that, they've struggled as of late, losing 3 in a row. Saturday also marked the first matchup between the Boston Bruins and the Toronto Maple Leafs this year, and you can probably guess the outcome. But in case years of proof aren't enough for you to realize that Boston lives rent-free in the Leafs' heads, what's one more game to prove it? The Leafs had a 2-1 lead halfway through the second, and then in the span of 36 seconds, they pissed it all away and allowed Boston to score 2 goals to take the lead. Looking like another Leaf disappointment at TD Garden, Austin Matthews finds a way to get behind Boston's D and tips one home in the final minute to force overtime. But death, taxes, and the Leafs losing in Boston.
Pasternak in front, scores! Another stop, scores! The Bruins win it!
That is 3 losses in a row. The parade is canceled as the Bruins goal horn continues to make your local Leaf fan twitch. Life is much better as a Rangers and Jets fan. New York gets a close 2-1 win over the Ducks to go 6-1-1 on the season, while the Jets are enjoying life being undefeated. Connor Hellebuck gets a night off, and still the Jets find a way as Cole Perfetti gets a power play game winner, and the Jets stay perfect in a win against the Flames. Dating all the way back to last season, the Jets have won 16 consecutive regular season games. Here's your quick Ovi update. He didn't score again, and neither did any of his teammates against Vasilevsky and the Lightning. The Montreal Canadiens, on the other hand, had no problem scoring as they put up 5 against St. Louis. The shine for the young core is still alive, but the same can't be said for the Islanders. Coach Patrick Waugh has been unable to get the Islanders to protect leads, and that's a trend that has plagued New York since Lane Lambert took over the bench after Barry Trotz was fired in 2022. The Islanders scored 3 straight against Florida in the first period, and then proceeded to let the Panthers score 6 unanswered to win it. It also already looks like there's a mini revenge tour brewing, and the Nashville Predators are leading the charge. Jonathan Marchessault hits the spin cycle off the wall, sends Severson flying into next week, and then he steps in and buries to give the Preds their 3rd straight win after starting out 0-5. Also Saturday, we can congratulate the Vegas Golden Knights as it was their turn to beat up on the San Jose Sharks. Vitek Vanacek even left his crease to make things a little bit easier by completely whiffing on this flying poke and proceeding to get scored on. The Sharks lose their 9th consecutive game big and become the first team ever to open consecutive seasons with at least 9 straight losses. This team is dying to get Macklin Celebrini back. And by the time you watch this video, I'm not entirely sure if Mike Sullivan will still be the Penguins head coach. Jumping out to an early 2-goal lead in Vancouver, the wheels just completely fell off as Pittsburgh lets in 3 goals within a span of a minute. The Penguins dropped their 5th straight and once again looked completely dominated at points of this game. With Dallas and Carolina also getting a win on Saturday as well, the standings have the Jets, Stars, and Rangers at the top of the league, while Mark the LTIR Stone leads the league in points, with Nico Hischier leading the league in goals. So that is what actually happened in week 3 of the NHL. Who surprised you? Who pissed you off? Let us know in the comments down below. And if you want to check out any of our other breakdowns that we're doing throughout the season, you can click on any of the videos right here.